Okay, let's talk through how to read an Alabama crash report. And just so you know, this is not one of our clients. This is not a private report. This is one we found online, but it makes a good example. So here is what a traffic report's going to generally look like. Starting up here, you've got your date, you've got the time, the day of the week, the county and the city. This is all the information the officer is going to take down when they respond. As you come on down, if you look right here, this is going to be Unit 1. Unit 1 is where they're supposed to put the person that the officer deems at fault. So the driver of Unit 1 is going to typically be the person that the officer has decided was at fault in causing the accident. So then you're going to have their identifying information in here, their place of employment, and right here is going to be their insurance company. There's going to be some things down here that are event codes. You don't really have to worry about those, but you will see if they were administered an alcohol test or a drug test and failed at the scene. That would be in this section right here. Right here will tell you if any vehicles were towed from the scene. And if you look over here at these diagrams on the right, it's going to show you what area the car was said to be impacted. So right here, they got 12 highlighted. That's going to be a front impact for vehicle 1. See, they say right here, 12 is the point of initial impact. So if you come on down here to driver 2, this is going to be the person that was not at fault in the accident. And if you've got more than 2 cars involved in the crash, then you'll have a unit number 3 and a unit number 4 on down. But unit 1 is always going to be the primary contributing driver that the officer deems at fault. So this may be the position that you are in as the driver not at fault, or if you were a passenger, or you could be listed in unit number 3 if this is a 3 or more car pileup. All right, this is going to be driver number 2's insurance down here. Same thing with any contributing circumstances or any special codes that they recorded. Over here, you'll see that this car was impacted in the rear of the vehicle. They've got this as the point of initial impact. Here's who towed the vehicle, and you'll also see here estimated speed, whether anybody was charged with a ticket or any kind of offense, and what they recorded the speed limit as. This is where they'll list anybody that they deem to be hurt in the accident. Now, a lot of times we don't report any injuries immediately, so don't worry if you're not listed here, if you told them you were fine at the scene of the accident, but this is where they will have listed anybody that said they were hurt at the scene and who transported them. And they'll also record some information in these spots about what seat you were sitting in the car. Now this part is the most important for your purposes. You want to look at this diagram that the officer made and see if it's consistent with how you remember the accident happening. So in this one, we've got unit number 1 is the contributing driver. He comes up and rear ends unit number 2. So he hits unit 2 from behind, and you've got the front of his vehicle impacting the rear unit 2. So you're going to look at this diagram, and POI right here is point of impact. So that this is describing where the cars hit. So you're going to look at this diagram and see if it looks correct with how you remember the accident occurring. If it's not correct, make some notes on what's wrong. That's not a problem. We just need to know that the officer did not record everything exactly correctly. They may give some identifying information about the roads in this section. You'll see on this one, it notes that this part was a private drive. So just see what details they got down in this diagram section and see whether you agree or disagree with what they've got recorded here. Next important part is the narrative. You want to read this really carefully And hopefully, in light of what we've learned about vehicles 1 and 2, you're able to read it and understand what they're talking about. So they've got vehicle 1 and vehicle 2 were traveling northbound on US 231. Vehicle 1 says he's not sure what happened. He wasn't paying attention, couldn't avoid striking. Driver of vehicle 2 stated going to the store and was about to turn when struck from behind. Then it talks about where they were transported and some notes about being injured, and notes that both vehicles were towed from the scene. So you just want to read this narrative really carefully and see whether you agree with the details that were given. If it says that you made a statement, is it consistent with what you said? Do you have any additional information about what the driver of vehicle 1 said? Did you overhear anything? Any information that you can add to the narrative, or just double checking that the narrative is correct and that you agree with it. That's what we're looking for by reviewing it. This you don't really have to worry about. This is going to be where they might give weather conditions, any traffic light conditions, if there were any work zone stuff in place. I will look at all of this. We will look at this, but you don't really have to worry about that unless you're just curious. And if you come down to the bottom, you'll get the investigating officer and anybody that took pictures at the scene. And then if you're just curious, the legend here at the end is going to tell you what all these codes mean. So if you just want to look at the various codes, it'll tell you what each of them mean throughout.